What's up? This is for April 18th. I had the right bias coming into the morning. I had the right read, and I still managed to mess up this day. So, coming into the session, there was a ton of sell side and liquidity that had been built up. So we had what I was seeing is all this low resistance liquidity. Now, on the higher time frame, we were super bullish still. We have not started displacing lower. And overall, I mean, if this is a low that's put in and we're displacing through that, I don't know. But overall, super deep into premium. We have not had a retracement yet. We have not taken out any buy side and then swept lower. We did take all-time highs last week, but we're still bullish. So the idea was pretty simple. If we get the right confirmation for this low resistance liquidity to get taken out that was put in overnight, then we can look to see price move lower, potentially even into the daily fair value gap that we had right here. So, yeah, the key word there was confirmation coming into the morning. So we had this new week opening gap. And because price overall, there wasn't a super clean, high quality draw at open here that we were displacing to, I needed to see disrespect of bullish PD array and displacement towards the downside. So getting right to open, this is still how we were looking. So price opens, we take buy side and we move lower. So this was pretty much, this was a trade that I took right here. So we had swept this out. We were respecting this 5-minute fair value gap. We had this internal SMT that was here. And then once we closed above this, I went long. And this was strictly a pattern trade because we had now closed basically almost to the tick the new week opening gap. And this is just one candle right here. We haven't swept out any liquidity. Like, this is not super clear manipulation. This is just very internal. And the assets are discorrelated. So ES is still moving higher. NQ did move lower and it is still moving higher. So like, it's still bullish, but we have not moved lower into a discount. We've not swept any sell side. We haven't engineered more liquidity. We just made like new high of day. We have these, like, this is what I was targeting right here, which is just not great at all. So I took this long. This is basically what it looked like. It was pretty low size. Keep in mind, we didn't have any red folder news. So here's the position. We had just tapped the change in the state. No red folder news. We have the 15-minute untapped for value gap along with it's a 1-minute for value gap that's not been traded into. So we put in this internal high. This is all kind of noise. There is a sell model right now that we are showing internally. We sweep out internal buy side, and then we're going to deliver into the 15-minute At this point, I had said I should trim here because we're probably going to hold this 15 minute and move higher again. Like, we haven't closed to the 15 minute, but I was just waiting to see if we close to the 15 minute, because if the 15 minute gets closed through, then it's a good idea that we're probably going to start moving lower. Now, this is where the spiral occurs. So I see this manipulation or this move lower. I see the internal SMT. I'm like, okay, we're still moving higher on ES, or now we've actually swept that internal high we see on ES. I see this inverse, and for some reason, I decide to go long. This is not a setup really. We're super deep in premium. We did deliver off of the inverse for value gap, the 50 minute for value gap, but I missed the move by, the bottom delivering out of the 15 minute was like 6 minutes ago, right? And we're failing to displace higher. So then that gets stopped out. So after my second loss, I just kept trading. I didn't step away, trade after trade after trade, without real setups. So at this point, it's not about execution anymore. It's just me trading with emotion. And the crazy part is, eventually, one of the shorts did deliver. So price moved exactly where I had originally planned, down into the daily for value gap and the stacked sell side. So the read was right, but the execution was so bad it didn't even matter. We get another inverse on the 2 minute. My stop is pretty close. We have not swept out any internal liquidity. And then I decide to go long, even though we're respecting that that inverse there, and then I decide to go short again. It gets stopped out again. So now I'm just like guessing. We tap into the 2 minute inverse, then I go short again, and it's like, you gotta recognize, I pull up the plan there, it was that we're not going long. So this wasn't a strategy issue. This was just me thinking about the money instead of the process, trying to make something happen instead of just waiting for it to be clear. And also not respecting the account just because it's an eval, which is a dangerous mindset. I was like, fuck it, we're on an eval. I don't care about the, that was my mindset coming into this. So I already know my pattern too. Like, after 2 losses, I spiral. And instead of honoring that and logging off, I stayed in and made it worse. I end up being, you can say, fine in this, but also not really. Like, I took a bunch of losses and micro scalps and revenge traded and over traded. Like, this was not good. And just because these shorts ended up delivering like I had wanted them to, the refinement and execution on the internal model wasn't there. So I did my full checklist before the session. Like, I did my full routine. I did not have a high quality draw on liquidity before 9:30. However, once we started inversing the 5 minutes is pretty much where that was confirmed that we were moving lower towards the generated sell side. I managed my second trade correctly, moving it to break even when I did, but I didn't stop after my trade limit. So the outcome of the day makes sense. So the lesson here is pretty simple. You can come in the morning and have the right bias. It doesn't mean anything if the execution isn't there. So going forward, if there's no draw on liquidity, I don't trade. If I take 1 or 2 losses, I log off and I stop treating these eval accounts just because I've funded. Like, I got the only reason why I got the fund is because I was not thinking about it being a fucking funded or an eval. I was just focused on my identity as a trader, and doing the things that are necessary for me to become successful later on. Because discipline doesn't change based on the account. So if I can't control myself after a loss, then I shouldn't be trading. So this is pretty much everything from the day. We end up taking the stacked sell side. I did not have my second fill placed on. We can see 2 to 2.5 of the fib retracement, and that gap that had not been filled yet or even traded into. And it ends up like going in like 10, 15 seconds. It just fucking explodes down and stops that out, and then we start moving higher. So we'll see that here in a sec. And then boom, just crazy candle. Crazy Drake candle. And at this point I was dropping a deuce, which is why I did not get filled on that move. So I end up coming back, and I am attempting to move just the tick profit there, but I ended up moving the stop, and then it got taken out. So